But anyway, let's move on. We've got more Hearthstone to talk about, to cast for you guys. It's going to be Alutemu versus blitzchung coming up for you guys next. And it looks like blitzchung has shielded, let me get this right, shielded the warrior and had his priest banned out. And Alutemu shielded his priest and had his warrior banned out, so kind of mirrored, kind of not. So there is Druid and Warlock versus Shaman and Warlock, along with Priest and Warrior, which are the shields. But funny, Derek, these are two players, and two of the few players who have brought Priest to Grandmasters this week.
That is correct, and I wonder if blitzchung with shielding his warrior was anticipating Alutemu to not shield his priest, perhaps, because warrior, I think, is probably the best counter that there is to priest in the metagame at the moment. Calling it a counter, I think, is a little strong. Yeah, exactly. A bit optimistic, but I think it's probably the best matchup there is against priest at the moment.
You thought blitzchung shielded his warrior because you thought Alutemu was going to shield his priest?
Not going to. Oh no, yes, was going to shield.
Okay, because you said not, and I was like, no, that makes no sense.
No, sorry, yes, I misspoke. Yes, because he was. So I guess a good read there by blitzchung that he would be able to get that. But then, of course, by not doing that, he gets his own priest banned, which means he can't play what is arguably the best deck in his lineup now.
And I think that's the mindset of where we see some of the European players and some of the Americans say, like, oh, well, you just play, you both get a win with Priest as like a nod, and then you play your other things. And I think it's that mindset of, I'm not going to shield what could be good against Priest because I can't make my opponent play Priest against this. Excuse me, against this deck, but you can play Priest against your opponent. So there's actually more control over your future, maybe, whatever the outcome, if you do actually shield Priest, but we'll see how it pays off. A bit of a gamble, I would say, for blitzchung.
Absolutely, but I think having a look at the way it's shaken out now, it's worked out for him, especially if you just look in a vacuum at the shielded deck he went for in the warrior, up against Battlecry, Quest Shaman, Zoo, and Priest. I would argue those are three, if not reasonable, three good matchups for the warrior there. I think I would definitely take those three matchups as the control warrior. And therefore, I think blitzchung with the Druid and the Zoo left on the other side, I think you could even argue he's favored in this matchup. If he's able to not line up his Druid into the Priest, I think he's in with a very good shot.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see as well, because we've got, I think, the Quest Shaman versus the Warlock coming up for game number 1. So Alutemu on the Quest Shaman and the blitzchung on the Warlock. And this is another tricky matchup, I feel. I've not made my mind up about it. I think I lean towards Zoo, because I don't think outside of exactly Sandstorm that the Shaman really has game versus... Like, Warlock matches you, except everything they have is bigger. So how do you keep up outside of, like I said, exactly Sandstorms?
I'm still undecided. I think there's a couple of things that really work on both sides. That if either player hits the dream curve, then I think they're in a very good spot. Because obviously, as the Zoo Warlock, you have the power of the Vulture that's been put in, and obviously the Thrasher as well. You have the power of Evil Recruiter. You have the power of just curving out with 1-drops, which is very, very swarmy and powerful. But for the Shaman, you have Mogu Flesh Shaper and Mutate. You have, of course, all the lackeys that you can generate on that side. You have Mind Control Tech. You have Sandstorm. There's a lot of stuff that can go right for the Shaman as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's a one-sided matchup at all.
If you had to put your money on one side, though, it would just about be there.
It would be Warlock.
Very. I think when they get this kind of opener, I think that's a reasonable conclusion to come to as well.
Yeah, now there's Lackey Coin Evil Recruiter. And, oh, what do you do, Derek? What do you do as the Shaman?
Cry.
And this is the difference, right? Like, look at all the early drops for Shaman, and then look at the early drops for Warlock.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where I view the edge. Is just the sheer beef of the minions in the early game.
That's fair. Very nice minion being generated there in the Kobold Lackey to clear up this board, which does mean, at the very least for blitzchung, the play of Lackey, Coin, Evil Recruiter is not as good as it could be, because these are two lackeys that require minions on board.
Job's done.
Well, I imagine if this was Faceless Lackey here, it would be insane.
Or even Kobold. Kill the 2/2.
Insane.
Or even... No, I think that's it.
Ethereal. Also insane.
Oh, there's the Sandstorm, though. This is the card that can definitely make a big difference.
Imagine he'll probably save it here, just because it can get... you know, blitzchung is probably going to have to value trade a little bit, and so I think it can get, a little bit more value in the coming turns.
And post-hero power proc, right? Once the quest is done, it's very good. It kind of negates Grim Rally a lot of the time.
That's true, yeah. I think Alutemu is wondering if he should go for the evil totem here instead, because obviously it gets munched up pretty easily by the 3-3. But it doesn't overload him for next turn, which I guess would allow him to play former champ, but he probably doesn't want to go that next turn.
I think he might kill off the recruiter now, right?
Oh, do you ever consider that Alutemu used to be called Machamp in his gamer tag? Former champ. Sounds like former Machamp. Maybe the card's named after him.
Machamp.
Former champ.
Machamp has 4 arms.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Illuminati confirmed.
Mind blown. Yeah, I really like this from Alutemu / Machamp / 4champ. I don't know.
That's definitely an emote somewhere in the dark recesses of Twitch. It's like a mix between forehead and PogChamp. 4champ.
It's like the mouth is open, but it's just like forehead wrinkles instead to create the mouth. Oh, this is not a bad turn at all.
It's just surprisingly close on both sides. Both players have hit kind of the power cards.
It's crazy though, because it's surprisingly close because Alutemu is getting double like Kobold lackeys, which is insane. If he didn't get Kobold lackeys, it would nowhere near be as close. Zoo here trying to play an honest gentleman's game, and the Shaman like, nah, I'm cheating. Kobold lackeys all over the show.
So this is potentially a full board clear. 1-1 into the egg. 2-2. Sorry, 1-1 into the egg. The other 1-1 into the 5-3.
Wait, what?
Questing Explorer into the...
Why wouldn't you just Earthshock?
Oh, well, I was looking at Hero Power and Sandstorm, right? Because that does 2 damage to everything. Yeah, right.
Oh, okay, sure. That actually
Yes.
ends up being a little bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Kobold
Feels
into
weird
the
to
egg,
like
questing
not
it.
Earthshocking an egg and killing it with minions. And
It
stuff
does
is
feel weird.
better.
It does feel weird. I mean, maybe it's still better. Honestly, I didn't even consider that. I was too locked on to the Sandstorm Elemental Hero Power, which is bad. But at the very least, that is a strong baseline play if he can't find something better with Earthshock. Which, I mean, maybe he can, right? He can go Earthshock, trade in the 2-2 into the...
Do you ever consider value trade into the 1-1? Or well, trade away half the board and just double drop evil totems and be like, kill this. Get 2 lackeys.
I don't think so.
Full board clear. Sandstorm Elementals lonely on the board, but feeling okay about it. Blitzchung going to follow with Solarium. And already the egg's just not bad. Bit high curve.
Yeah, that's not very good. He just wanted some cheap minions he could throw down with Egg and the Grim Rallies. I suppose this is okay. This sets up for some strong Grim Rallies in the next couple of turns. But just overall very low impact cards being generated there. And with the Earthshock being saved by Alutemu here, this is looking mighty strong. Earthshock, double totem.
What if he just plays former champ this turn? There's 2 0-time minions on the board. It's like, you get a 5-5 down?
I prefer the evil totem play, I think. I think like leaving up an egg here when there's already a reasonably wide board is begging for something to go wrong with Grim Rally.
But there'd only be one other minion that gets... Right now, there'd only be 2 minions on the board, right?
I suppose.
Value trade a 1-1?
Yeah.
So you have a 1-1, a 2-1, and a 5-5 versus a 0-3 and a 0-5.
Maybe, but even just denying a 3-4, I think is worth diverting away from former champ because it makes your next turn arguably stronger because you have the 2 lackeys with the hero
to fill
power.
It out, I guess.
Yeah, which can be very, very strong.
Or just hero power former champ, I guess.
Yeah, also a good point, yeah.
Well, I think whatever happens, Blitzchung has to prioritize killing this elemental. Ooh, nice. Looks like Blitzchung's going to actually try and make one really big minion. Okay, so a 1-8 and two 2-2s.
It's not bad, especially given that Alutemu is just drawing closer and closer to like locking this game out. Because Blitzchung, you know, he got a very, very strong starting hand, but it's dropped off quite drastically since then. Which is, you know, what happens with Zoo. Even with the hero power of tapping and drawing each turn, the value that Quest Charmer can accrue just vastly eclipses what Zoo can do in the mid-game.
Does Alutemu just hit, bounce with hero power and then play?
That's pretty good, yeah.
So
makes it a 6/6 as well.
Makes it 6/6. He gets to do 4 damage to this Lightwell. I like it.
I like it too. Remember to attack as well. Good job.
Do that first.
Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah, yeah. I was wondering if it was because you have to consider with like Lightwell, is it ever worth not attacking it, but he damages it anyways.
Yeah, yeah. And he brings in a much more killable range.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, it was just better. Well, there's an Eagle Recruiter, Evil Genius. Maybe that would have been enough to pull him back in later on. But blitzchung says,
early?
You know what? I'm just giving it up. It felt a little early, but as I said, Quest Charmer just gets better and better. Zoo gets worse and worse.
It does, but
wasn't even ready to come back on camera. Wasn't even ready to come back on camera. He conceded so quickly.
So quick. I had to throw my water on the floor. But imagine such broken TV behind me. But yeah, that was really weird. I thought he had Evil Genius, a 1-drop, and Recruiter to follow up with. And Lackeys can do wonderful things. I think he wasn't in that bad of a spot, but maybe I missed something that blitzchung did not. But anyway, that was just a game number 1. We've got more games coming up, and we're going to continue Alutemu versus blitzchung after this break.
Wait. We're still doing another one of these? Even with the plagues out there? All right. Greetings, Junior Explorers. Are you ready for adventure? I sure hope so. I'm Ryan Collins, and I'm here to send you out into the Tombs of Terror. The Tombs of Terror sound completely and utterly horrifying, but you're gonna be totally 100% fine. I'm not going, though. No way. You may have heard about those nasty plagues in Old Doom. What you may not know is that the League of Evil unleashed them to destroy the world, and in the process, let loose some seriously mighty mystical beings. And that's where you come in. Tombs of Terror will follow the format of previous Build As You Go adventures. You'll be fighting a series of random encounters and improving your deck as you go with more cards and fantastical treasures. Not only that, but you'll be accompanying the best of the best. That's right, Rand Bronzebeard, Elise Starseeker, Reno Jackson, and Sir Finley Mergleton, they're back. And these legendary explorers have a few new tricks in their wide-brimmed hats. For this momentous occasion, each of the 4 explorers are dual-class heroes, fully representing the strengths of 2 distinct classes at once. For example, with Reno's recent experience with magical artifacts, magic! He's able to sling spells as a mage and use some of his old tricks as a rogue. You'll be able to build your deck with cards from both classes, creating new and exciting combos as you go. Want to deliver a massive druid swipe into your opponent's face with Prophet Velen in play? How about activating rogue combo cards with mage spells? Deck building rules are out the window. Again, with the League of Explorers by your side, I can 110% guarantee that you will be totally fine. Early reports have informed us there's even a nice tavern out there in Old Doom where you can relax, modify your deck. I'm not sure who would be running a tavern during such chaos.
Nice.
At the start of your adventure, you'll get to make another choice to help shape your deck. You'll still choose a starting deck and hero power, but now you'll also have your own collection of signature treasures for each hero. Signature treasures are special cards suited to each explorer that you'll be able to unlock as you play. As you progress, you'll unlock even more powerful signature treasures, giving you a steady flow of new options. So while Reno Jackson may start off with his trusty hat, he'll eventually end up with the Gatling Wand, a powerful instrument of magical might. You may find that some signature treasures are better suited to your playstyle than others, and that's part of the fun too. With your group of explorers fully equipped and ready for action, Tombs of Terror will bring you through 4 chapters of tomb diving goodness. You'll fight a wide assortment of villains, mummies, a bunch of water-toting murlocs. But you're really here to take down these Plague Lords. Plague Lords are the physical embodiments of each of the plagues. They range from a monster made entirely of murlocs to a living form of rage itself. These are huge enemies to tackle with enormous health pools. As they take damage, the Plague Lord will change phases, switching hero powers and strategies to become even deadlier. You might be worried about your chances, but I assure you, you'll be safe. Not only are you a well-trained explorer with cutting-edge equipment, but Plague Lords actually have persistent health pools. So if you show up, go face for 100 or 200 damage, and then get smashed, don't worry. The next time you fight that Plague Lord, that damage will still apply, allowing you to whittle them down if you need to. Although Plague Lords are the purest embodiment of evil we've ever encountered, we're certain that, look, I can't do this. These guys are doomed. Get out while you can. It's not gonna work. But no, you'll be fine. Everything's fine here. Once you defeat all 4 chapters, you unlock the finale, which is a delightful mystery. Good luck out there, explorers. And if you manage to get yourself mummified or worse, please don't come back for me.
We're about to have what everyone's been waiting for, and it is a priest game. We're going to see Alutemu lock in his priest, and then blitzchung, I believe, is going to be on his warlock. And priest is the talk of the town right now, Derek. if you're at home, not on Twitter for some reason, 1, get it, follow us. 2, you will see a lot of priest discussion and how OP it is, and how strong cleric is on 1, and a certain voice line of that cleric that happens when you play it. So we'll see how it turns out, but you believe it is as powerful as the pros are making out, and as everyone's kind of jumping on the meme wagon.
I fully agree. I had a couple of days, a few days ago when I was prepping for this week, I was playing a lot of Priest on ladder, trying to get to grips with the deck, because I falsely anticipated it would be much more highly represented in Asia Pacific, and I was having a bit of trouble with it. I couldn't really seem to get to grips with it. Last night I won 9 games in a row to Legend and just kind of went, yeah, okay, this deck's insane. If you draw an anywhere decent hand, there is very little that can stand up to it. And the Zoo Warlock, which, yeah, is going to be lined up against it, I think can have a chance against it. Not when the Priest draws like that, though. Cleric is the #1 win rate card in almost every matchup. Tolvir is the #2 mulligan win rate card in almost every matchup. Nephesek goes very well with both of those 2 cards, and Amit is Amit.
And so I think the issue with the deck is that they have powerful cards.
Yeah.
But the second they have 1 powerful card, they snowball so heavily that it's hard to even come back from them having 1. Like, Cleric is insane. If they go Cleric Tolvir, it's even more insane. If they go Cleric Tolvir plus heals of some kind, it's so insane, their cards don't exist to win the game, right?
Yes.
And that's what I mean. It goes from strong, but, okay, fine, to really strong, to game over. And I feel like it's almost, if you have 3 cards that work together, you just win, especially if one's cards.
I think the one thing that could maybe put a stop to that is Flame Imp for blitzchung. This was a 100% mandatory card for him to find to have a chance in this game, because it obviously puts Alutemu on the back foot. Northside Cleric on this turn is simply not playable. So instead he has to go coin Tolvir, knowing it's being thrown out to die. Nephesek Ritualist being played on turn 2 is obviously an option, but it doesn't feel especially strong. Situations like this is why I wonder if Zoos should ever be playing Demon Fire in the lists at the moment. I don't know if that's maybe a bit crazy, but pretty good here.
And now even this just stops Alutemu playing a Cleric.
That's right.
So what do you think? Just Ritualist?
I'm wondering if there's ever reason to go Light Warden plus Cleric, but yes, I think you just play Ritualist here.
Yeah. If you play Ritualist, because the idea being, at least in my mind, no pro priest player over here, but I think at this point, depending on draws, you want to Cleric into Divine Spirit, and if you pass to do that, then it just means it's more likely it's going to be 6 damage on blitzchung's side of the board next turn. So if you play Nephesek Ritualist, then you can likely trade off at least the 2/2 in some way, or at least trade off some of this damage, and it means that the Cleric might live with 6 health. And then you can start doing the broken things.
Wow, blitzchung letting it live here for a turn, which is always a dangerous prospect against Priest. I suppose often letting it live, not always letting it live here. If there was Goblin Lackey, Kobold Lackey, could have killed it off there. Doesn't find it, so this this Nephazet is going to be living for a turn.
I wonder.
Are you surprised there wasn't a Sinister Deal first? Could it ever have been done that way round?
I think
guess there's the
if you're
management
playing,
well.
yeah, if you're playing Evil Genius, I'd rather play a Lackey than a Sinister Deal. Honestly, I was looking at Knife Juggler and Sinister Deal on this turn.
Well, there's the card that can change a few things. Probably outside of exactly Bon Samedi, the one card I feel in the deck that really means you can come back into a game that you've got no right being in the start, right? So Alutemu could try and just not play any more minions or any more 1-drops for the rest of the game, and then just go Amit, 1-drop, 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 and then they're immortal, pretty much, especially against Zoo. What he's choosing to do instead is, I think, going for Amit and Cleric on turn 5 and saying that should be enough.
I wonder if that will be enough, though. blitzchung is doing an unbelievable job of pulling himself back into this game. Honestly, I thought Alutemu, if he'd shown blitzchung his hand on turn 1, he would have conceded. Yeah, if he could do that, it would just be a concede from blitzchung, but apparently not. Again, obviously coming down to the disruptive power of Flame Imp, but even so, I'm very impressed with blitzchung. Oh, this is so tough because Alutemu just doesn't have the time to keep passing and doing nothing. But what he obviously really, really wants to do is either Amit double 1-drop or Amit Divine Spirit, and then like 1-drop the turn after on turn 6 and then 7.
So,
but he just can't afford to wait, I guess.
Only 1 damage required, though.
Yeah.
So
It's
basically, Alutemu is hoping for what? Psycho Pump?
Oh. Yeah, I guess. I think if he keeps passing, he's dead anyway, though.
But I thought, would it maybe not be enough to next turn go Amit 1-drop?
Maybe.
Then there's 14 health on board. Like, they don't often get to do 14 damage that can split correctly between 2 7-health minions. Like,
maybe you're right.
I think that's more reasonable than just slamming Amit, where asking Zoo to need 1 damage without a Psycho Pump.
Yeah, I guess the thinking was just that he would die if he did that, but
something
has to go his way, though. And I think either way it was looking very grim, but with a Psycho Bomb off the top. Is that even good enough, though,
I mean,
if he hits Amit? Because he would just be dead.
He's dead, he just doesn't know it, right?
Yeah. He's like exactly dead, actually.
Well, if he hits Amit, he can hit Tolve, right?
He can hit Tolve.
And he hit.
Or he can hit that.
A whole lot of nothing. Yep. And wow, Priest falls.
Oh.
What a game.
I thought this was not even close. Northshire Cleric in the hand, ready to come down on turn 1, isn't even played the entire game. That is some justice right there.
Flame Imp stood between the Priest and impending doom. And it told the Priest, not today. Literally, that Flame Imp won blitzchung this game by a mile. And we go 1-1. blitzchung still has a chance. But the scary thing about Conquest is beating a deck does not get rid of it. It just means Alutemu can queue it again.
Which means that blitzchung is now left with, having won a game with his Warlock, is now left with his Warrior and his Druid. And I think, given that he is up against Priest and, what is that, Warlock left for Alutemu, given that he's won with the Shaman? Yeah. I believe so. I think that's a pretty clear Warrior.
It is, and I think you still queue Priest.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think with what he's got left, I think just going for that Priest is just a good idea. The deck's so powerful that silly things have to happen to stop it, which means it's just worth playing almost no matter what. Oh, no, sorry. Oh, yeah, he did win with Shaman. I looked at the wrong list then. I was confused. And yeah, it is going to be Priest versus Warrior. We do have confirmation. That does mean that I think both players just made the right decision. Warrior has a really good chance. Druid just dies. And Priest, I think, is strong enough to just deal with Warrior most of the time anyway. So it's down to the fates.
Yeah, I like as well from blitzchung that we're seeing him deviate from the aggro warrior, which he brought in previous weeks, which honestly felt like it was the letdown of his entire lineup last week, where he went with another 0-2 last week, or yes, 0-2 last week, and then he won finally this week. And I think now switching over to the control warrior is a slightly more reasonable strategy to go for, especially when you're expecting a lot of other aggressive decks.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a note on Aggro Warrior that although it's been doing very, very well on ladder across, well, I know multiple players who love playing that deck and think it's very strong. In tournament play, you're in a different game because not only does your opponent know it's Aggro Warrior when they mulligan, they also kind of get to choose a deck to go against it. You know what I mean? Whereas on ladder, you could be playing just a deck that's bad versus aggro and then have to deal with aggro warrior. You could queue into warrior, presume it's control, mulligan for control, and then you just get aggroed down. So I think the win rate of that deck is dramatically increased on ladder than it is versus in tournament.
I fully agree with you. Yeah, I think aggro warrior was one of the worst performing decks we saw here in Asia Pacific at least.
Oh, okay. Bit of a recovery there for Alutemu. You could have played Pyromancer, of course, but not really what you want to do.
Yeah, especially with Psycho Pump in hand. You pretty much always want to be rezzing Tolvir or Injured Blade Master whenever you can.
Oh, straightforward to me. Draw a card.
Draw a card and then heal? Or draw a card and then Divine Spirit?
Draw a card, heal. I don't think with Psycho Pump you're in an ultra rush to make one big boy.
Oh, I don't know. You do need to start considering... no, yeah, I guess you're right. Because I was thinking with Restless Mummy, you can get it up to 10 health, which plays around coin Restless Mummy very, very nicely. But then, of course, the problem is they can still just coin rush it in twice, and then your second Divine Spirit is a lot worse.
Right.
Yeah.
But, excuse me. Whereas coin Restless Mummy with the shield actually still requires further trades and kills the mummy off completely, and then you just Psycho Pump and go.
Yeah. Not personally a fan of Wild Pyromancer because Restless Mummy would allow for perfect trades to kill off everything.
I think heal's just really good here. Take advantage of the silly health your minion has.
Yeah. I think it's heal as well, all things considered.
And it's by far the best Psycho Pump res, so even if it dies.
I think it's heal and there's argument for Divine Spirit. Wild Pyromancer I hate, but heal and Divine Spirit I can hate. I hate this play. I absolutely hate this play. Because not only does it die to Restless Mummy, which you know 100% is in hand, it makes your Psycho Pump worse.
A part of me wondered, the only other thing I would consider is if he doesn't heal it because he kind of wants it to die, so then he can Psycho Pump it, but that wouldn't involve playing Pyromancer, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to force it to be dead so he has a strong turn this turn, you can play Psycho Pump. But I wouldn't have played Pyromancer, and he's arguably punished.
Yeah, here you go. You reap what you sow.
What now?
And again, I can understand the point because there was a secret fourth play outside of Divine Spirit, Heal, and Pyromancer, which was just nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Which obviously is very suspicious. The only reason why you wouldn't heal your minion there is exactly Psycho Pump, exactly, which makes blitzchung think, maybe I don't want to kill it off. But I just think if you heal there, if he doesn't kill it off with coin Restless Mummy, you have double Divine Spirit, so that you can then just go double buff next turn and get it to ridiculous range, and then hope that he doesn't have Plague of Wrath to kill it off.
Yeah, and just to know as well, blitzchung isn't playing Executes. We see some players that are bringing Warrior bring Executes this week, and blitzchung isn't bringing any, so it's literally a Plague of Wrath that punishes him in any real way. I know, personally, I would have snap healed it every single time, but I think it's these weird, intricate plays that make Priest not powerful and dumb. I feel like it can be powerful and interesting.
Tough
Do you know what I mean?
Like, absolutely.
It's tricky because you can play it okay and win games, but you can play it well and win every game, which is I think is the big difference.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd much rather a meta like this where Priest is probably the best deck, but not stupidly dominant, than some of the metas we've had in the past where it was like Aggro Shaman was the best deck, and if you didn't play it, you were dumb.
Yes.
Right, and it was relatively easy to play as well.
1 drop on 1, 2 drop on 2, 3 drop on dead.
Yeah, which is nothing like Priest, of course. Usually. If you get the Dream, then it's like that, of course. But I agree. Ooh. Well, here we go. We got a game plan.
Yeah, I told you earlier. I nearly won the spiciest Priest mirror in the world, and I had the worst hand throughout the whole game, and I still nearly won due to a nice potential overdraw. Lethal.
Always the backdoor victory win condition for Priest.
I mean, do you ever just not play these 2 minions here, Derek?
Well, I'm wondering if you ever play it and then buff it with Divine Spirit, right? Because if you play...
Oh! Now you're talking.
Yeah, right.
Wait, yeah, you could just almost set up lethal.
Yeah.
Do it, Alutemu. I just want to see it.
Well, of course, if he goes Amit plus Pyromancer, then he sets up for... Oh no, he wouldn't set up for lethal next turn because Pyromancer damages his minion whenever he plays a spell. So it's kind of even more complicated than that.
He is still 1 off, right? If he went to he damages it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it ends up 1 because he gains 1 damage, right? He deals 2 damage to the board, but he gains 3 attack.
Buff to 14, down to 13, up to 26, down to 25, heal. It'd be like 2 off.
But he gains 3, right? So it stays the same, doesn't it?
Yes, it stays at 28. Yeah, so it'd be 2 off. Well, this is the downside of not playing the Divine Spirit, I suppose, is that Amit can now be killed off. But, of course, Wild Pyromancer can now be buffed. And I think this is absolutely the time for Alutemu to say, well, let's go all in.
Let's go. Oh, that's not bad either.
Double Divine Spirit and then Nephiset and then Inner Fire, I guess. Or just heal and then Inner Fire.
Yeah. I think it's more important. I think you leave the 1 minion on the board, and the Nephiset's used in case there's like Dynomatic into you're just like I don't know, some weird stuff to try and kill it. It's probably never gonna die, but
and just in case of brawl as well, you don't want to give them a 50-50 brawl.
So my question: if Alutemu double Divine Spirits and Inner Fires, how does he lose?
There's not a whole lot, honestly. With Plague of Wrath gone, it's cheap minion plus brawl, or just putting up taunts in the way, because obviously Frightened Flunky can generate a lot of taunts, one after the other. But I think Alutemu has found the correct spot to go all in here, pretty undeniably.
Quickly.
Even when it looked a bit rocky. Oh, I don't like it. Wait, was that just a misplay?
What? I mean, he keeps 1 extra health on the Nephiset with trading 25 for 28, and I think pretty much that's the same thing. Like, it's 2 hits.
I just wouldn't have played the I guess
me neither.
The Nephiset plays around a taunt minion to a certain extent, like exactly flunky into unplayable taunt.
Plays into brawl though.
But yeah, I would be terrified of brawl because Alutemu is all in right now.
Restless Mummy can of course come to the rescue here. Oh, Ziliax is a fantastic minion to get there off of the Omega Assembly as well. Maybe blitzchung can stall out the game long enough.
Alutemu has a double silence in the deck.
Oh, that's a bad miss.
Ooh, what a weird game.
Well, I think you trade, I think you heal, and then I think you pass.
Yep.
I don't think that the 1 extra attack from Beaming Sidekick is worth getting down on the board.
I agree. I think the important part here is I'll simplify the game. Alutemu, his Pyromancer will never die. The only way it dies is if Brawl happens. So Alutemu has to hope he can win the game before blitzchung draws Brawl.
Yep.
And that's it. That's literally the game right now. The game has just devolved into maybe, day 1 of pre-alpha testing Hearthstone.
Oh boy!
You mean Brawl?
Oh Brawl.
So you don't play... Do you play the Grunt or not play the Grunt? That is the question.
What?
As I hold a skull up in the air.
I'm so bad at maths. How do you figure this one out? So you can take a 50% or a 2 out of 3. But, of course, if you miss, you have...
You're dead.
You just play the Frost Wolf, right? Because I think if you're not winning this...
You need to draw exactly
It's
another
game over.
Brawl,
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you take the 2 out of 3 chance.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Wait. Oh! Can you believe it? I choose death. Oh, what is Hearthstone, Derek?
Absolute god, Alutemu, hands up to the sky. You did it.
Wow. So we've had an Octosari
Yep.
murder Frosty. We've had a very likely brawl completely not go the way the player who played it.
Yep.
It's just one of those days, isn't it, I guess? Full of upsets, full of victories. But Alutemu takes the series 2-1 and Priest continues to be Priest.
And we've seen a trend amongst our two best performing players last season in Alutemu and Surrender. Rough starts for both of the players, turning it around very rapidly. 3-3 now for Alutemu. I think 3-3 for Surrender as well, or at least a much more reasonable scoreline for him. Whereas blitzchung falling down to 1-5, one of the worst performing players in the Grandmasters overall in Season 2 and also in Season 1. You've really got to feel for him now because I don't even think you could call that you couldn't call that a bad performance. I think he played the matchup very well there. He knew what he was trying to do, especially that Zoo game up against the Priest, where I thought it was just a lockout victory for Alutemu. He gave it all he could. It was just a bad beat.
It was, yeah. And the problem is that the reason relegation happens is to get some new players in and players that have proven themselves in other aspects into Grandmasters. And for that, someone has to get knocked out, right? And unfortunately, however much I do like blitzchung, if he didn't do well in Season 1 and he's not doing well in Season 2, and I'm not talking about the last game or the last series specifically, but in general, if you're bottom of the table twice in a row, then unfortunately, you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
And honestly, out of all the players, you might end up deserving to be kicked out because you've literally performed the worst over 2 seasons of Hearthstone, which, however much it definitely sucks, that's the way it happens.
And I do wonder as well, actually, I say it was just a bad beat. On that last turn, could he have ever not played Brawl and played Ziliax? Because obviously it dies to exactly silence from the opposing side of the board. But it sticks another minion on the board so that the next turn he could then go for Frostwolf Grunt Brawl, which means he'd have a 3 out of 4 instead of a 2 out of 3. You obviously run the odds of being hit by silence, which swings the odds back further in favor of
But then it's the odds of drawing silence that early in the game with only 1 card in hand versus the odds of it, if it's not drawn, then the increased odds of you winning the brawl. Maybe, someone will just do the maths.
Maybe that was just better.
But maybe that actually was just a better play. But anyway, we'll not dwell on that for now. We've got plenty of time to talk about Hearthstone and players, so we'll talk about 2 more.